Anna Thompson walked slowly along the tree-shaded path in the park. Morning sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating gentle patterns of light and shadow on the ground. She couldn't see, but she could feel the warmth of the sun and the fresh scent of grass. Although she had lost her sight in an accident 6 years ago, Anna had found ways to connect with the world around her through her other senses. Shadow. Anna's Belgian Malinois walked steadily beside her, the leash taut as he guided her along the winding paths. His sleek, jet-black fur reflected the faint sunlight from afar. With his confident stride and noble demeanor, Shadow was not only her eyes but also her protector. Always alert. His ears perked up, ready to react to anything unusual. Anna had been an art teacher before the work accident that took her sight. On that day, an explosion occurred in the workshop where she was teaching students. Despite her efforts to shield her students, Anna suffered severe head trauma, leading to the complete loss of her vision. That event not only changed her life but also forced her to face new limitations, leaving behind a career she loved and embarking on a journey to rediscover herself. However, not long after the accident, Shadow came into Anna's life, becoming a guiding light in her darkest days. The dog not only helped her regain confidence in navigating the world but also brought her immense emotional comfort. Each morning, when Anna stroked Shadow's sleek fur and felt his solid presence, she knew she was never truly alone. The serene park had become Anna's sanctuary, though she could no longer create the vivid paintings she once loved. She maintained the habit of visiting the park, bringing along a sketchbook and pencil. She would run her hands over the textures of her old sketches, recalling the images from her memory. The chirping of birds, the sound of a small stream trickling in the distance, and the laughter of children filled her with a sense of peace and connection to the world. Shadow stayed close to Anna during these quiet mornings. When she sat on a familiar bench beneath a sprawling tree, Shadow would sit calmly at her feet, his sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. Passers-by often paused to admire Shadow, but the dog never lost focus. For Shadow, Anna's safety was his top priority. Anna cherished the moments of simply listening to life unfolding around her. A group of children ran across the grass, their footsteps lively and their laughter ringing out. A couple sat on a nearby bench, their soft voices blending with the rustling of leaves in the breeze. At times, memories of her previous life would flood back, bringing both joy and sorrow. Anna had once painted vivid depictions of nature, capturing the intricate veins of leaves and the way light danced on water droplets. Now, she could only remember and imagine. Yet, with Shadow by her side, she found a renewed sense of peace and purpose. Shadow wasn't just a dog. To Anna, he was a silent companion who stayed by her side when the world seemed to turn away. On days when despair crept into her thoughts, all she needed was to feel Shadow's warmth and hear his steady breathing to remind her that she could keep going. This park held precious memories of Anna and Shadow. It was where she learned to trust herself and her loyal dog. It was where she realized that, even though life had taken her sight, it had given her an invaluable gift, Shadow, the companion she never expected. Today, as Anna sat on the familiar bench, she placed her hand on Shadow's head and softly said, "Thank you, Shadow. Thank you for being here. For being my eyes, my ears, and my heart." Shadow didn't respond with words, but his gentle tail wag and the way he leaned into her said it all. Anna understood that even though she couldn't see, she could still feel and connect with the world through the love and loyalty of Shadow. Anna Thompson sat on her familiar stone bench beneath the shade of a sprawling tree. enjoying the fresh air of the tranquil park. The blind woman, with her graceful demeanor and calm presence, listened to the birds chirping and the occasional sound of footsteps nearby. Beside her lay her guide dog, Shadow, a sleek, jet-black Belgian Malinois, sitting upright, his ears alert and his sharp eyes scanning the passers-by. To Shadow, this wasn't just a park. It was a place that needed his vigilance. A space where any potential danger had to be neutralized before it could come near his owner. But that peaceful afternoon was soon disrupted. A group of young men walked into the area near Anna's bench. Leading them was Travis, a tall, burly figure in a black leather jacket, his tattoo-covered arms and defiant gaze commanding attention. He strode confidently, laughing loudly with his friends following behind. Their presence cast a tension over the park, and their mocking laughter caused some nearby walkers to pause and watch uneasily. "Look at this. A blind girl with her perfect dog," Travis sneered, his eyes landing on Shadow. "I bet it thinks it's some kind of superhero or something." His friends burst into laughter, egging him on. Shadow immediately sensed the danger. He stood up, his body tense, ears pricked higher, and his gaze locked onto Travis. A low growl rumbled from his throat, a clear warning to anyone thinking of approaching. Anna felt the change in Shadow's behavior. She turned her head slightly, her sunglasses concealing her unseeing eyes as if trying to gauge the situation around her. "What's wrong, Shadow?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Travis stepped closer, tossing his cigarette to the ground and crushing it underfoot deliberately. "Oh, sweetheart. Don't worry," he said mockingly. "We just want to see if your dog is as impressive as it looks. Hey. Does it do tricks? Roll over. Sit. Or maybe bark on command." Anna gripped Shadow's leash tightly, her heart racing. "Please. Just leave us alone," she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the fear creeping in. But Travis didn't back down. Instead, he clapped loudly, attempting to provoke Shadow. "Oh. Lighten up. We're just having a little fun," he said, turning to his friends with a wide grin. "Look at this perfect dog. It's not even doing anything. Probably just a cowardly little pet." Shadow, who had been quietly observing, now stood firmly in front of Anna. His growl grew louder, his sharp gaze locked on Travis. For Shadow, this was no game. This was a threat that needed to be addressed. The tension between man and dog reached its peak when Travis decided to push his luck. He raised his foot, mimicking the motion of kicking Shadow. "Let's see if this dog reacts," he sneered, a smug grin spreading across his face. "Don't!" Anna cried out, feeling the tension in the leash. "Please. Don't hurt him." Shadow didn't wait. As Travis's foot moved, Shadow reacted instantly, with the speed and precision honed through years of specialized training. Shadow stepped back to avoid the kick and then sprang forward, letting out a powerful bark. The sound echoed through the park, making Travis freeze mid-motion, his confidence shaken. The people around, who had been mere spectators, began murmuring loudly. Some pulled out their phones to record the unfolding scene, while others urged one another to call the police. Travis, though accustomed to being a bully, started to feel uneasy. Under Shadow's piercing gaze, he took a step back, trying to maintain a calm facade, though the fear in his eyes was evident. All right. I was just joking," he said, raising his hands in a mock gesture of surrender. But his shaky voice betrayed him. And the crowd wasn't convinced. Shadow remained unmoved, standing like a fortress between Anna and Travis. His deep growl persisted. A reminder that any further aggression would be met with consequences. An older man, dressed in a park ranger uniform, approached quickly. "What's going on here?" he demanded. His voice authoritative. Travis stammered, trying to explain himself. "Nothing. I was just messing around with the dog." The ranger looked at Travis, then down at Shadow. "Messing around? You're harassing a guide dog and a blind woman. Do you even realize that's illegal?" Travis didn't respond. He lowered his head, mumbling a half-hearted apology before retreating quickly, his group trailing behind him. As Travis disappeared from sight, the tension in the park began to ease. Shadow stayed vigilant for a few moments, his eyes following Travis until he was out of sight. Only then did he turn back to Anna, pressing gently against her leg as if to reassure her. Anna crouched down, her hands trembling as she stroked Shadow's head. "Thank you, Shadow," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "Thank you for always protecting me." Shadow didn't respond with words, but his tail wagged slightly, and his softened gaze conveyed everything. Around them, the onlookers began to clap. A few approached Anna, offering kind words and expressing their admiration for Shadow's bravery. For Anna, that moment solidified what she already knew: Shadow wasn't just her guide dog. He was her hero, always ready to stand by her side, no matter the danger. When Travis, with his towering build and aggressive demeanor, lifted his foot to kick Shadow, everything seemed to slow down for those around them. Anna, though unable to see, felt the tension in Shadow through the leash and shouted, "Stop! Don't hurt him." But her plea did nothing to halt Travis's actions. Shadow, a Belgian shepherd with a sleek, jet-black coat, didn't wait any longer. Years of military training awakened his instincts. In a lightning-quick move, Shadow dodged Travis's kick, stepping back to maintain a safe distance. Then, in an instant, Shadow lunged forward, letting out a powerful bark that froze Travis mid-motion. Shadow's bark wasn't a mere act of defiance. It was the sound of authority, of a being trained to protect and confront threats. Travis, who had always relied on his strength and brashness, instinctively stepped back. The mocking grin on his face vanished, replaced by a look of worry. "What the hell is this dog doing?" he muttered. Shadow didn't attack. Instead, he stood firmly in front of Anna, his front paws rooted to the ground, his body tense and ready like a living shield. His eyes locked on Travis, unblinking and unwavering. The crowd around them held their breath, with some even pulling out their phones to record the dramatic scene. All right. I was just joking," Travis said, trying to regain his composure. But his voice wavered, and his eyes betrayed his fear. Shadow didn't move, his low growls a final warning. An elderly man in a worn khaki jacket, sitting on a nearby bench, had been observing the entire situation. Rising to his feet, he walked briskly toward Anna and Shadow. His face, lined with the marks of time, radiated both sternness and profound understanding. "Stop right there, young man." Mr. Walter, a retired soldier, commanded in a deep, authoritative voice. "You have no idea what kind of dog you're messing with." Travis turned his head. His eyes filled with annoyance. But the sight of Mr. Walter's imposing demeanor silenced him. "I wasn't doing anything. Just messing around," he mumbled defensively. Mr. Walter shook his head. His gaze shifting to Shadow. The dog stood firm. Ears erect. His focus unwavering but slightly more relaxed as he sensed the older man's supportive presence. "This isn't just any dog protecting its owner," Walter said, stepping closer to Anna, who clutched Shadow's leash with trembling hands. "This is a military dog. Look at how he moves. Barks. And stands. I'm certain he's been trained in the military." Walter's words sent murmurs through the surrounding crowd. Some leaned in to get a closer look at Shadow, searching for any visible signs of his unique background. Travis, now a few steps back, looked visibly shaken. "A military dog," he muttered, his bravado fading completely. Anna turned her head toward Walter's voice, her curiosity overcoming her fear. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice still shaky but filled with intrigue. "Shadow, was he really in the military?" Walter nodded and crouched slightly to observe Shadow more closely. He extended a hand but stopped midway, respecting the dog's alertness. "Look at those eyes. The absolute focus. Not blinking once. The way he keeps a safe distance but stays ready to act. I worked with dogs like him in the military. They never forget their duty. Even after leaving the service." Anna gently stroked Shadow's head, feeling the subtle vibrations of his controlled energy beneath her fingertips. "Shadow. Were you a hero?" she whispered softly, almost to herself. Meanwhile, Walter continued addressing Travis. "You're lucky this dog restrained himself. If he hadn't, I guarantee he could have taken you down in seconds. Never mess with a dog like this again." Travis, now completely deflated, nodded quickly. All right. I'm leaving," he muttered before turning and hurrying away from the park, his friends trailing after him. As the tension dissipated, Walter sat down beside Anna, his eyes still on Shadow. "You should be proud of him," he said. "Dogs like Shadow are silent heroes. They've saved countless lives in the military and continue to protect the ones they love even after their service." Anna tightened her grip on the leash, feeling the calmness return to Shadow. "Thank you," she said, her voice full of gratitude. "I didn't know Shadow had such a past. All I know is that my life has completely changed since he came into it." Shadow, as if understanding her words, wagged his tail lightly and leaned against Anna's leg. His sharp gaze softened, though he remained ever vigilant in his protective role. That day, Anna left the park with a newfound perspective. It wasn't just the dramatic event she had experienced, it was the realization that the companion walking beside her was more than just a guide dog. Shadow was a friend, a protector, and above all, a hero who had once made sacrifices for a greater purpose. That day at the park left Anna with an indescribable mix of emotions. Walter's words about Shadow being a former military dog echoed in her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about what he had said, Shadow's strong posture, absolute focus, and disciplined reflexes. If it were all true, what did it mean for her and the dog she had come to consider her loyal companion over the years? When she got home, Anna sank into her familiar armchair, gently stroking Shadow's sleek coat. "Who were you?" "Shadow," she whispered, almost to herself. As usual, Shadow lay calmly at her feet, his gaze alert yet tender. The next day, Anna decided to dig deeper. She reached out to a veteran support organization through a friend. Sharing Walter's story about Shadow. The person on the other end, a woman named Karen, listened attentively. "We can look into it," Karen said. Her voice filled with understanding. "If your dog served in the military, there's a good chance he's registered in our system. Could you send us any information you have about Shadow? These dogs often have a service number or official name." Anna nodded instinctively. Forgetting Karen couldn't see her. "Yes. I'll send you everything I know. Thank you." A few days later, Anna received a call from Karen. "Anna. We found records of your dog," Karen said. Her voice a mixture of amazement and respect. "Shadow isn't just any dog. His official name in the military was K9 Bravo. He served in special operations and was the partner of an officer named Marcus Gray." Anna's world seemed to stop. "Bravo," she repeated. Astonished. "So. He wasn't just a guide dog." Karen continued. "Marcus Gray is now living in Texas. I can provide his contact information if you'd like to reach out." Anna didn't need to think twice. She knew she had to do this, not just out of curiosity, but because she felt Shadow deserved recognition for everything he had done. That evening, Anna sat in her chair, her phone trembling slightly in her hand. After taking a deep breath, she pressed the call button. The phone rang only twice before a deep male voice answered. "Hello. This is Marcus Gray." Anna bit her lip, trying to steady her nerves. "Hi. My name is Anna Thompson. I believe I'm caring for the dog that used to be your partner in the military. K9 Bravo." There was silence on the other end for a few moments before Marcus replied, his voice trembling. "Bravo? Are you sure? I never thought I'd hear about him again." Anna smiled softly, sensing the emotion in Marcus's voice. "He's my guide dog now. Ever since I lost my vision. Bravo, or Shadow, as I call him, has helped me through so much. But I didn't know about his past until a few days ago." Marcus let out a long breath, as though reliving old memories. "Bravo wasn't just a dog. He was my partner on the most dangerous missions. He saved my life, more times than I can count." After a brief pause, Marcus said, "I need to see him. I can't believe he's still alive and doing such amazing work." A few weeks later, Marcus flew to Anna's city. Standing in front of her door, his emotions were a whirlwind of anticipation and nostalgia. When the door opened, he saw Anna, a young woman with a warm, welcoming smile. But his eyes quickly shifted to Shadow, Bravo, as he had always known him. Shadow stood by Anna's side, his eyes locked onto Marcus. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, as though a long-forgotten memory resurfaced, Shadow slowly walked toward Marcus, his tail gently wagging. As the distance closed between them, Shadow let out a low, familiar bark, an unmistakable sound Marcus had never forgotten. "Bravo," Marcus whispered, kneeling down and extending a hand. Shadow sniffed his hand briefly before leaning into him, as if to confirm. Marcus wrapped his arms around the dog, his voice breaking. "I missed you. You saved my life so many times." Anna stood nearby, feeling the weight of the moment in the air. "Shadow has changed my life," she said softly. "I don't know what you went through with him, but I'm so grateful he came into my world." Marcus smiled, his eyes glistening with tears. Bravo was a warrior, but above all, he was the most loyal friend I've ever had. And I'm so glad he found a loving home with you. During the visit, Marcus shared stories about Bravo, from perilous missions in the military to moments when the dog saved his team from danger. Anna listened quietly, deeply moved by every word. When our final mission ended, I knew we had to part ways. Marcus recounted. Bravo was enrolled in a reintegration program to find a new role in civilian life. I always wondered if he'd find happiness. Now I know the answer is yes. The reunion wasn't just a chance for Marcus and Bravo to reconnect, it marked the beginning of a special bond between the three of them. Anna realized that, despite Shadow, or Bravo, having a challenging past, he chose to continue doing good. And she felt fortunate to be part of his story. Marcus spent hours with Anna, sharing stories about Shadow's, K9 Bravo as he still called him, extraordinary past. They sat together in Anna's cozy living room, where sunlight filtered through the windows, casting soft patterns on the wooden floor. Shadow, as always, lay near Anna's feet, his ears twitching slightly at the sound of Marcus's voice, as if recalling memories long buried. Marcus recounted the special missions he and Bravo had undertaken in the military. He spoke of long days in conflict zones, where every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Bravo wasn't just a dog, Marcus said, his voice lowering. He was a true teammate. Once, when our team was ambushed, Bravo detected a hidden mine just before we stepped into the danger zone. Without him, none of us would have made it back. Anna listened intently, her hand gently stroking Shadow's back. Each story deepened her admiration for the dog. Shadow wasn't just her guide, he was a genuine hero who had faced life-threatening challenges to protect those around him. When I see Bravo today, Marcus continued, his gaze fixed on Shadow, I see a warrior at rest but still carrying unwavering loyalty and courage. He's lived a life of purpose. And now he's doing the same for you. Marcus's words resonated deeply with Anna. She realized that while Shadow had embraced his new role, his instincts and love for his former work remained. As his companion, she wanted to give him a sense of fulfillment and joy. After some research, Anna discovered a center dedicated to retired military dogs. The center offered activities simulating the missions these dogs had once performed, search and detection exercises, scent work, and obstacle courses. She reached out to the center and arranged for Shadow to participate. On the first day at the center, Anna immediately noticed a shift in Shadow's demeanor. As they entered the gates, his posture straightened, his ears perked up, and his gaze sharpened, as if he had returned to a familiar world. The trainers at the center were impressed by Shadow, recognizing his discipline and exceptional skills from the very start. Shadow is going to thrive here, one trainer told Anna after the initial assessment. He remembers everything. It's incredible to see a dog like him rediscover his passion. Standing nearby, Anna felt Shadow's excitement through the tension in the leash, though she couldn't see him performing the tasks. The trainer's cheers and the spring in Shadow's steps spoke volumes. After each session at the center, Anna noticed Shadow was more energetic and lively. Not only did he guide her with remarkable precision, but he also exuded a renewed confidence and joy. Anna realized the training sessions weren't just a way for Shadow to reconnect with his past, they were also strengthening the bond between them. Shadow, you're not just my eyes, Anna said one evening as they sat together on the floor. You're a silent hero. A friend I know I can always rely on. Shadow looked up at her, his eyes warm and luminous, as if he understood every word. Marcus, who stayed in touch with Anna, was thrilled to hear about Shadow's progress. One day, he told her over the phone. Bravo has always needed a purpose. And I think he's found it with you. Not every warrior gets such a beautiful second chapter. On a crisp morning, Anna and Shadow returned to the park where their journey had taken a pivotal turn. The familiar bench was still there. But Anna felt different now. Gone were the fears and uncertainties of the past. With Shadow by her side, she knew she was safe. Shadow lay at Anna's feet, his eyes scanning the surroundings. He had reclaimed his essence, not just as a guide dog but as a warrior. A loyal friend. And a protector. You've changed my life, Shadow, Anna whispered, bending down to stroke his fur. And I'll do everything I can to make sure you feel happy and loved. Shadow, as if understanding her words, wagged his tail gently and rested his head against her leg. To Anna, Shadow wasn't just the light guiding her through the darkness. He was a symbol of loyalty, courage, and unconditional love. She knew that, no matter what the future held, they would face it together, not just as a guide and owner, but as two inseparable souls bound by an unbreakable bond.